Where you at, Ollie?
I'll pull up that. But anyway, I'm Olivier, and I'm from the Congo. Sort of kind of spent some time in North Carolina as well. I work in Boston currently, and what else was there? 2 words to describe me. I would probably say grown kid.
Okay.
And 2 words that describe me are resilient and free.
Okay, dope. My name's Ellie Latelli. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born in the Congo, so I'm Congolese as well. I am a systems engineer, currently living in Seattle. 2 words that describe me, I would say open and understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
So, hey, Robin and Jemima, if you guys don't mind just quickly reintroducing yourselves again. I'd forgotten to press record on Zoom, so let's run that part back real quick.
Okay, so I'm Robin. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a property tax accountant, and 2 words to describe me are silly and intelligent.
Hello, guys. I'm Jemima Latelli. I was also born in the DRC, and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina right now. I'm in college for graphic design. And yeah, I think 2 words that describe me are artistic and passionate.
Dope. We love that. And she's also responsible for the current logo of Candid Conversation. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So yeah, let's just kind of dive right into it. You guys know the prompt, and I know a lot of you have been thinking about it, and there's so much here that can be said. And so just for the audience, I'll go ahead and read the prompt. So our current topic for this week is, how do you remain grateful/content while staying hungry for more, remaining hungry for more? Once again, our mission is to change the world one conversation at a time, and that's really what we set out to do. And I do want to state that there is no right or wrong answer. Again, these are just how we experience the world, and I believe that we all believe value in our individual experiences, and that there is no right or wrong, but we can learn and glean from each other, and really just grow from that authentic conversation. And so, again, no right or wrong answer, and kind of dive right into it. And so, Robin, I'm gonna ask you, since you kind of led this off.
Yeah.
A quick thing or whatever you have, but how would you if you're in an elevator speech and someone asks you, how do you remain grateful and but still staying hungry for more? How would you answer that person?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's just really important to live in your now and embrace where you are in the present. I definitely feel like you should have a vision and create goals, but I don't think you should be so married to your plan that you can't just let life happen.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm.
We'll go right to you. And then later on, we'll just have a more kind of candid conversation, but just a quick elevator speech. How would you respond to that?
Oh, sorry, am I next?
Or Jemima, the same order.
Sorry, did not know that. I think that being thankful has nothing to do with being hungry or achieving things. I think thankfulness is a state of mind. If you constantly reside in being thankful and being grateful, that should not get in the way of you keeping or seeking to improve yourself. You can be thankful in a position where you are not actively seeking to accomplish your goals, and you can also stay thankful in a season that you are striving for your goals. So yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Latrice?
So I kind of thought of the question in kind of the lens of my faith. And so for me, something that helps me stay thankful in a season is realizing that I am where I am because of God. So like by the grace of God, I am where I am. I am who I am. So when you recognize that like you're only here because of God, not because of your own works, then it's like a very humbling experience, and you can remain thankful to God for where you're at. And then in regards to still staying hungry, once you recognize also that you're there because of God, and that creates a hunger in you to want to do whatever God has placed you there for. And because you kind of have a responsibility, you know, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. So you have a responsibility to where you're at, to continue to be hungry and serve those around you and figure out why you are there. So.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, so when I saw the prompt, or when you sent the question, right, I thought about it, and I wanted to, like, I don't think I have more of an answer. It's more of a perspective, and I thought about it in different ways. Like the first portion of it is, when you're hungry, right? Like whether you're in a season where you just like striving to get to a certain goal of yours that you have, or you're just not in a good spot and you're trying to get to a better spot. So you're hungry, you have that motivation to do the things that you need to do to get there. And then the second piece of it is, once you get there, then, a lot of times, maybe not for everybody, but for most people, you get complacent, right? You've gotten what you wanted to get, or you've made it, quote unquote. So then now it's like, I started thinking, so then when you get there, how do you then stay hungry again, right? Because you've worked out, all the way to where you got. And I'm thinking, for me personally, I think it's more so just, one, you have to be thankful and content of the place where you are, because you worked so hard to get there. But then you have to sort of kind of have a better or realization of yourself, or assess yourself to know that you have a lot more potential. And so if you recognize that you have more potentials, then you know you can do more. So where you are is good. So be satisfied and thankful for that. But you have more potential, so you can do good. So try to get that to you, to continue to fuel you to stay hungry, basically, and continue to go to the next level, and so on and so forth. Because you get to realize a lot more of your potential as you get to more and more levels, of accomplishments, or so on. And that's sort of kind of how I thought of it.
It seems like almost like a feedback loop type of thing. One thing.
Wait, on my side?
Yeah. No. I'm talking about just like the process you were describing.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Because it's like, I think, I don't know. Like for me, I just thought like once you get complacent and you're like, I made it, but then I feel like then you're like, how do I find that fuel again? Because when you're hungry, the fuel is really like powerful. It pushes you. But then how do you find that fuel again? And I think it's just realizing that you can do more. And once you do realize that you can do more, then you can do more without neglecting the fact that you've made it to a place where, it's a place where you can be thankful for, or so on.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's cool. And so we have one other person that joined. Abby, if you want to introduce yourself, like where you're from, and also just two words that you'd use to describe yourself, and a brief elevator pitch response to the prompt. How do you answer it?
Hey, so I'm Abby. I am from Raleigh, and I guess just finished up at NC State. I'll be working for Eli Lilly come the end of summer, hopefully, as long as my start date doesn't keep getting pushed back. And what was it? 2 words. I would say outgoing and driven. And then for the prompt, for me personally, I always kind of have the motto as like counting your blessings and not your burdens. And just like being able to be happy with what you have. And like Latrice said, like being present and being happy with what God gave you. But also kind of just always having like a drive to grow and be better and give. I think for me, I'm happiest when I am growing. But I also think a lot of like people in our society, especially Americans, there's always a need for like more and wanting more. Like you get to one step, or you get this job and then you want the next job, or you make this much money and that's not enough anymore. Or you buy like a cute little house and now you want a big house. Like sometimes in our society, like nothing's ever enough. So I think it's being able to be content with what you have, but trying to grow in every way you can, and just pushing to be better and give more to society.
Yeah, awesome. Those are just a great way to kind of start this whole conversation off. And again, just as we're kind of going through this, definitely just speak from the heart. There's no right or wrong answer. Feel free to just kind of jump in or veer it off a certain way. But one of the first, I guess, one of the first things we should clarify, is for you guys specifically, individually, how much do you value the idea of being content, grateful? And a second part to that question is, how much do you attribute that to where you are now? No order, first person to go, run with it.
I personally value it a lot, just because I think being grateful and optimistic makes life a lot happier and easier. So yeah, I think it's a huge part of my life, and being when I am having that like positive mindset throughout my week and everything. It also, I think it rubs off on other people, when you are positive and you are grateful, just being able to be positive and happy with what you have, but also kind of like there for other people. I forget the second part of that question, but.
Yeah. No, it was just, how much do you attribute that to where you are now? I guess who you are.
Oh yeah. So I think it kind of is something that just like becomes a part of you, and it's easier for some people than others. But for me, I think having like a positive outlook on things and being grateful with where I'm at has kind of made me, just be happier in general, but also like get me to where I'm at, because like just being able to keep pushing and like making the best of every situation, no matter what it is.
I love that. Yeah, I went ahead and also typed that part question in the chat. So yeah, feel free to jump in. Yeah, Robin.
Yeah, I definitely like extremely like value like being content and grateful. I agree with Abby. It makes life a lot easier to just, be in the present and just be grateful for where you are. I'm a person like who believes that, that everything that is for you, like, is yours, So my motto is just like to put 110% of myself into what I'm doing currently, and just being still and knowing that, in all that hard work, that it is preparing me, for my future. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely echo what Robin and Abby said, and I think for me, gratitude is it's everything, right? It's a way of recognizing, and I definitely attribute it to where I am now, because it's a way of recognizing that I'm here where I am, not by myself or not because of myself, right? I'm super huge on networking and connecting with people and stuff like that. That's sort of kind of one of the biggest thing that my dad has always instilled into us. So like connecting, meeting people, and so it's like, this person that may refer you to a certain person, or even, the simple fact that your family, you have a family to go back to, or family's praying for you, and, all that kind of stuff. All of that kind of is part of being here, right? Like I'm here because of all of those things, like because my family prayed for me, or because my parents put me to school, or all of those different things. So it's like you cannot be grateful, because like not being grateful would not be easy for you, right? Because then you have to start fighting to attribute everything that you've accomplished to yourself versus just sort of kind of being grateful and bringing everybody into that journey of yours. Because, and again, it's like, it's almost kind of like having an army to do the things that you want to do, or having an army to get to where you want to go. So every step of the way when I go or I get to certain places, I always think of how I got here or what anybody else contributed to me getting here. And I'm grateful for that, because without that, you probably almost wouldn't be where you are.
Yeah. Love that. I love that hoodie, man. That's dope.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I think that it's always important to take some time to realize, like he said, like we're here because of other people. And I think it actually does like feel, going back to the original prompt, like feel the hunger to want to keep going, because you realize you're not just doing it for yourself. Like you're doing it for everyone who's like prayed for you, everyone who supported you, everyone who believes in you. And it's like, wow, okay, when I step back and think of how much people have invested in me, like how much people have sacrificed for me, it's like, kind of like can be selfish to be like, I don't want to keep doing this because I'm tired. I don't want to keep doing this because of this. And it's like, so many people believe in you and you can do it. And so being able to step back and be like, wow, I'm here because my parents worked really hard for me to be able to even go to school. Like it just gives you a bigger perspective on life, and you realize that the things that may seem bad are like irrelevant in that moment. So I think gratefulness is extremely important, and to like remind yourself of a lot on whatever journey we're in.
That's a really good point. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, like when I think about like gratefulness, like I always think about that verse, like seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and then other things will be added to you. So in the seeking, that's how I stay hungry. Like I'm seeking and I'm hungry to learn about God and to learn and know God more. And because of that seeking, he provides me with other things in life. So at that point, like it's pretty clear that there's nothing that I can do that can give me the things that I want in life except for seeking God. So I think being grateful ties hand in hand with that, because I can't attribute it to myself. I have to kind of be grateful for something else, or grateful for another sacrifice that God made for me. So I think that gratefulness is just kind of like, it comes hand in hand with kind of trusting your life in the hands of like something else, like a God, like trusting your life and giving him that. Like you have to be grateful for that, because nothing you can do will ever be from you, if that makes any sense. But yeah, gratefulness is something that I try to instill in myself and the people around me like daily, because yeah, like everybody was saying, like we're not here by ourselves, and like the things that we've done and the accomplishments that we've made, like it wasn't just us. So I think that you have to keep that in mind to also stay humble too, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, yeah, I guess my thoughts, just to kind of complement all of that. I think for me, the thing that I value, or why I find that being gratefulness and being grateful and being content is so valuable, is because to me, it's the ultimate reality check. You know, being grateful, living with gratefulness it literally realigns your perspective to where any major stresses or things like that, a lot of times we really stress out about. It's the little things that stress us out. Something like, most of the times, like the really, really big things, like we can kind of realize how big it is. And a lot of times we're just kind of like, well, like, it is what it is, almost, in a sense, like if we all knew that a meteorite was coming to, like, hit the earth or whatever, I think at some point everyone's going to be like, okay, well, everyone's just going to be, like, it is what it is. Like, love everyone, but there's nothing to do about it. Like, that's a big issue. No one's really going to be like stressing about it, really. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But sometimes it's the little details, the little things that go wrong, that's what makes us kind of like stress. But if you put things in perspective and you realize that how how lucky you are where you are, how, you know, living in the country that you're in, you know, with the resources that you have, with the knowledge that you have, with the access to information, like all these different things, with the people in your life and the love in your life, there's just being in that state of gratitude just really brings that to perspective. And one thing that I realized, the reason why I attribute being content, like, or why I attribute, sorry, being content to so much of where I am now and kind of like my overall peace and happiness is the fact that you can't be fearful, you can't be angry, can't be jealous and be thankful and grateful at the same time. Like it's just it's not possible, because if you're, you know, if you're thankful for where you are, you're not going to be jealous of someone else because you're too busy being thankful. Like those two entities, and fear and gratefulness doesn't dwell within the same sphere. And so just having that real, you know, having that mentality and that just kind of dwell in you, it kind of it gets rid of a lot of angst and worries and a lot of troubles down the road. But yeah, that's just kind of or contentment and gratitude means to me. But as far as for you guys, so you guys have talked about how it is important, like you feel that it's super important to be grateful and to have, you know, to live in that state of gratitude. How do you guys, you know, personal experience, how do you guys physically maintain that? How do you, what are some physical, you know, some tangible things that you do to stay grateful and maintain that?
I could go on that one. And sorry earlier, I've been having some internet issues for quite some time, so I was trying to move to a good spot. Hopefully, I didn't distract. But I was gonna say, I think the easy way I do that is, for me, I guess at least, it's like just through the connection with people and like just sort of kind of singing people's praise in some ways. So, you know, like personally, I have people that, you know, have offered to be meant to mentor me that that I met like accidentally, or people like, it's just a lot of grateful things that I am for. And so every now and again, it's like, if I'm, let's say every time I went to Dallas, for example, I have a great mentor there and I ended up working for him. That was one of my first internships and stuff. And so every time I go to Dallas, I'm like, hey, like I need to, you know, meet with him and like take him out for lunch or whatever the case may be. So to keep and nurturing that connection, one, it's like, it's benefiting the both of us because we're continuing to grow that relationship. But at the same time, it's like, I want him to recognize that I'm so thankful that every time I come to Dallas, I have to call him and be like, hey, I'm in town. Like, let's link up. Let's get lunch, or let me take you out for lunch, or whatever the case may be. Right. So things like that, or just singing people's praise it's just powerful.
That's good.
Yeah, I really like that. I just like having like a kind of glasses half full instead of half empty mentality. Looking at the bright side of things, but also just like appreciating the little things, whether it's like driving by like a sunset on the like, or just like sitting by the lake, or being able to like go on a long run. Or I was like putting my clothes away the other day and I'm like, dang, like I'm so lucky to have like just like little things like clothes and like a roof over my head, and the people that I do have in my life. And I think, like you said, like giving people praise, and if someone does help you, like someone gave me a book like over a year ago and I never really read it until like this year, and it was just like the best, and I hadn't talked to him in forever. But I saw him on campus not too long ago, and I went up to him and I was like, hey, like I just want to let you know, like I'm so thankful you gave me that book, because like it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And or if someone helps you out in like a job, like texting them and being like, hey, thank you so much for this, like I appreciate you, I couldn't have done this without you, and just staying humble. And I also think just thanking people and being appreciative goes a long way. and people will remember that.
Yeah. I love how you both brought up the people aspect to that. That's something super practical and something that we can take it for advantage a lot of times and just really overlook it, but it's so important.
Sure. Another quick thing I was going to try to add. I'm sorry, somebody else could go if
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I was just gonna quickly add, like, as far as like the like even what Abby just touched on, right? Like just being able to just go to somebody and saying thank you, or saying that I couldn't have done it without you. A lot of times, people sometimes mistaken that as in like sort of kind of like diminishing the work that you did yourself to get to where you need to go. Like I feel like yeah, you can always like praise yourself, or not praise yourself, but like recognize that, hey, I did some work to get to where I got in here, but there was definitely people that helped along the way. So it's my journey, but these people helped me. So that's what, I couldn't have done it without you. Mean more so because I've had conversations like that with people before where it's like, what do you mean I couldn't have done it without you? Like, I did the work. It's like, yeah, but like if you would have, even job interview, like if you wouldn't, you interviewed and got the job, but if you wouldn't have gotten plugged up to get to the interview, then you wouldn't have got there. You know what I mean? So it's just different perspective or a different way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I completely agree with what everyone else has said so far. And for me, like, I do a lot of like evaluation. Like, I think about, you know, where I came from versus like where I am, and it just, it just helps me maintain that. I don't feel like you can ever do that enough, like to think about like where you've come from versus where you are. And along the lines of like, thanking people, I also think it's like important to give back and be the person that you needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like to jump on that, like whenever I get to a point where I feel like I'm like not being humble or kind of like not appreciating the things that I have, I literally like tell myself my testimony, like back to myself, and say like, look at where you were, look at where you are now. I think it's really important to self-reflect. I think that's super vital in terms of just like growth in this like area. I journal every day, just kind of write down the things that I'm thankful for, list my blessings, like Abby was saying, like count them one by one, and just kind of stay aware, because what happens when you lose awareness is because you don't have like access to this information all the time, right? Like you forget things and it starts to fade. So if you're constantly bringing this to the forefront of your mind and you're constantly being aware of your growth and the blessings that you have, like it's something that you're going to be more sensitive to and be able to spot whenever you do feel like you're struggling in it. So
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I completely agree with what everyone said. Giving praise or praises due, whether that's to people who've helped you or most importantly to God, like how he's helped you and where he's brought you from. And I do the same thing as Jemima. I journal every day and write just things that I'm thankful for, like where I'm at. Like, thank you, God, that I have lights, like I have I have a job and things of that nature. Just recognizing the small things that God has given us allows us to have a larger perspective of like, okay, if he can do even just these small things, like how much more can he do for us? And so I agree. I think all of that Michelle said was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the small things I think goes such a long way. When you really sit there and think about all the things that we take for granted, being able to pick up your phone and, speak to your parents. Like, I know I don't take advantage of that as much as I should, for sure. I know my mom is probably watching this live somewhere and she'd be like, why don't you call me? But just literally like the little things like that. And the biggest thing, one of the things for me that someone even mentioned is just humility. I think a big telltale sign of when I'm not living in a state of gratitude or contentment is when I feel myself getting a big head, where like I start thinking that I did this and that and I'm so great at here and I did, all these other things. Like when I feel myself not being humble, I literally just have to sit there and and reanalyze everything, like everything that I am, everywhere that I've got to. There's almost like Olivia mentioned, there's a part of things where there's a part of it where there is some, there is some credit that is given to you and your hard work, absolutely, but it just pales in comparison to how much God does, and how much the people around you that are literally are fighting for you, they're lifting you up, they're supporting you, and that I think is just it's the winner, and it's the thing that kind of makes me. So for me, the practical thing that I do, I think on that, and I think about all the like where I came from, but I also think about all the things that could have not happened had it not been for this person, had it not been for my parents, had it not been for my friends, and just really almost reverse engineer it. Just think about, like, none of this would have been here without this, and that. And then that usually gets me thankful real quick and a lot more humble. Yeah.
That's super huge.
Yeah. So just on to the second part of that prompt. So I know we were kind of talking about, how does remaining grateful and how does that compare to staying hungry? How can you do that but still be motivated for more? Like how does that work? So for example, for you guys, what does being hungry mean? Like, what does that imply personally to you?
For me, my hunger is I don't want to be anyone less than God's called me to be. So like I'm always hungry to become the woman that God's called me to be, like do the things that God's called me to do, to find out everything that God placed inside me when he made me. And so I don't ever want to stop short of that, because I think I wouldn't do me justice, and I wouldn't do God justice, because he placed us all here for a reason. And I also just stay hungry because for me, I just realized I'm not doing it just for me. Like there are a lot of people who will need me to be who I need to be. And so that pushes me to keep going and to stay hungry.
Yeah, that actually kind of ties into what you said earlier when you were talking about, like you said, like all the people that are behind you, the supporting cast, all the people that are rooting for you and counting on you. And it's
Right.
part of that is just like, these people believe in you. Why can't you believe in yourself to keep going? And you don't want to let them down too. I think that's a really huge motivating factor.
And like even people like in the future that I will meet, like when I become a doctor, like it'll be very important for other minority females to see another minority female as a doctor. Like it's not just for me, it's not just about me. Like we all have a mission here, and we gotta keep going. We gotta do it. Like
Yeah,
there's no
it's not just about me. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. For me, I think it's always just like wanting to grow spiritually, physically, mentally, just being able to be at my best in all situations. And I can tell, like, yes, I'm like happy with what I have and where I'm at, but when I have like days or weeks where I'm like super unproductive and like don't have like, I don't know, like my normal morning routine, and just like not getting things done, not being thankful, just kind of having a bad attitude, I can tell how that like affects me, whether it be like getting things done or just like my mindset and my just like outlook on things. Like I can tell that like it's not doing good for me. So when I'm not doing like the little things like a morning routine and being productive and wanting to grow, like I'm not as happy. Like I want to grow. Like yes, I'm happy, but like Latrice said, like you have like you want to serve yourself and serve God.
Those are super good points, and I think just echoing on that and sort of kind of adding a little bit to that is that for me is, I can't remember what that quote is, but it's I don't know if I'm gonna say it right, but it's being comfortable is the enemy of success. I don't know if you guys heard something like that, where it's like the minute you start getting comfortable, it's like hunger is really like, to the literal sense of the word, it's like you lacking of something and you need to eat for you to be fulfilled, right? So if you're not fulfilled, or like you're not being productive, or you just not, it's not working, and that's when it's sort of kind of like something pushes you to do more, or whatever the case may be. And also, but for me, it's more so also just every time that I start getting comfortable, like when I got my, when I got my job, when I graduated school, it's like, everything that I was doing was towards getting a good job and, being the best software engineer I can be, and so on and everything. And then I get the job, and then, I get paid well. And, it's like, and then there's days or weeks where it's like, you go to work, come back home, you do almost pretty much nothing. And, you go back to work the next day, like you've gotten comfortable at the job and everything is sort of kind of smooth. And it's like, wait a minute, like I'm just like passing days without like learning something new or growing and so on and everything. That's when, I'm starting to search whatever that next thing I need to have, that's going to fulfill me, or so on and everything. So, and then setting goals too, sometimes every now and again, because setting goals just would help being able to check that, right? You can check something against, oh, I want it to be X place, or I want it to be able to become X. And so what have I been doing to be able to get there, or whatever the case may be. And so I think for me, it's usually the trigger is when I start getting comfortable. Like I'll just have days where I'm not productive because I'm super comfortable, and I get complacent. Everything is super easy. I go to work, come back, and it's like nothing else to do. But it's like, well, now I can do more. Right.
I think staying hungry for me, a little bit like what you guys touched on, is like chasing my purpose. Like I think that, well, I believe that God like wrote my story, and He's written that down, and I think it's like my job to really seek to discover that, and seek to push for that, because like we all said, like we're not here just for ourselves, we're here to impact others, and I want to live up to the things that He has called me to be. And also, like when I think about like being hungry, like I guess like when you're talking about it in like a human sense, like you don't stop being hungry until you die, pretty much. Like you're hungry, and then you eat, and then you're okay for a while, and then you get hungry again, and so you eat. And so I think life is like that too. Like you have certain stages where you have a different kind of hunger, but the hunger, like the strive for that, should keep on going, and until pretty much like you die. So I think that being alive has to do with staying hungry. So yeah, that's what I think.
I want to add on to like seeking purpose. I think one thing that for me that stands out is this idea of being hungry also means like investing in yourself. By that I mean like taking time to really analyze who you are, what your heart, what your soul is crying out, and what it's desiring, and really where the next thing is. Just really being in tune with the inner depths of yourself, and hearing out what that calling is, and what your soul, when your heart is longing for, what it's wanting to get into. Taking that step and taking actions to where you can clear out all the noise and all the blockage, I guess, to really understanding yourself, putting effort into doing that. I think it's so crucial, and I think that's part of that process of staying hungry, because then you can know really what your soul is hungry for, you know. And with that, there's also the aspect of you have to deny certain aspects of you, like certain shallow, voices that may even like scream out of yourself, that are opposing your inner hunger, like your true calling, and what what you're meant to do, your purpose. And so just denying those shallow thoughts that usually stay pretty surface level, the thoughts of doubt and anxiety and fear, and shutting that down denying those opposing thoughts and really investing to look deep inside. And then, sorry, I really liked this conversation. I wrote a couple notes down, but the last one was like developing, to me, hungry looks like developing habits, developing healthy habits, and specifically a habit of knowing overworking in the sense of like not just doing the bare minimum, but doing even more than like what's required, whether that's like doing something that you want to do or something that maybe you have to do to whether you're making a living. Just having that habit and developing that habit in that job that you really hate, but if you can develop a habit to do the best, do even better than expected in something that you hate, like can you imagine how much of a force that same habit can translate into something that you actually love doing, and you'll do that 110%, 120% now that you have a passion for it. So a biggest thing for me is to develop a habit to never half-ass anything, and just go 100% in anything that I go, and really just put my best foot forward in anything that I do and develop that habit. So
How do you feel about like jumping back to kind of like this idea of investing? How do you feel like things get like with investing like financially into yourselves?
mm, like treating yourself type of thing.
Yeah, it could be treating yourself, it could be investing in like a car, investing in your business, like just money, like being invested into yourself. Like I feel like that's a tricky kind of like slope when you're thinking about like how is this going to help me be the person that I need to be, or help me be more grateful, or such and such.
Well, so here's like an example that like in anyone's free to answer this, I'm sure, but here's like an example personally for me in my life that I've had to ask that question on the financial side. Like, will I choose to invest in myself, or will I choose to invest in something else? For example, like um, like I like recently just or I think I'm about to get like a bonus for the year or whatever at my job, and so like the thing is just like, do I invest that into something generic, such as like, I don't know, like the stock market, or, or invest it into, some fund or some mutual fund? Or do I want to invest it in myself and buy, you know, uh, a camera or some like like investing in like what I'm passionate about and my vision. And so, for example, like this platform, do I want to invest in myself and growing this and really putting my heart in this? And so that I think for me, like you definitely have to weigh out the pros and cons, but I think that when you're really passionate about something and resources are given, you have to be certain. Well, you just have to be um, you have to be willing to invest in yourself and put your best foot forward and trust and try, take a chance on yourself and bet on yourself. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's kind of what you mean. I don't. Someone else can talk on now. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I was gonna say on that actually, it's like it's there's definitely got to be some balance there, but I think there's also a perspective aspect to it. I'm definitely one to not shy from quote unquote investing into myself or treating myself. Like I love traveling, so every now and again I'm always gone, and so. But then I sort of kind of started thinking, as far as financially, right, for this year, when this year started, one of my personal thing was I wanted to sort of kind of develop financial literacy. And so I started reading into things and kind of looking deep. I did the casual, usual, like investing into stock based on whatever stock comes from my company or things like that. But then the other way of thinking about that perspective side of it was, so now that I started looking into things because I wanted to get that financial literacy, and I started digging deep into like stocks and how to invest into stocks and how to grow money there and vice versa and so on and everything, I genuinely got interested to that. And, you know, I thought that it was something fun to do, just being able to trade and seeing how the market is changing, so on and everything. So when I put money into that, my perspective is that I'm still sort of kind of investing into myself because I'm doing something that I'm genuinely enjoying, right? Just as much as I would be enjoying traveling and going to a vacation, I also now have this new interest of like, you know, playing with the stock market. So then I invest into that. And so I'm also sort of kind of getting that same kind of joy and peace. And in the end, that money could grow, whatever the case may be. So it's almost kind of like a cycle. And that's probably the money that's going to pay for my next trip or so on and everything. So I think just being able to look at things in a way that's like, whatever I'm investing into in the end it's for me, right? So whether it's investing into the camera for the platform that you're going to be building, that's going to give you fulfillment. And that's going to put you in a happy place for you to be able to do more or whatever the case may be. I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's good perspective right there.
Okay. And what I would say, I give a lot of like financial like advice to people. And I think it's like really important to like have a balance, you know. Yes, you should enjoy life, but at the same time, it's like really important to think about your future in terms of growth. I think it's very possible to, you know, plant seeds, because obviously like without planting seeds, like you will never be able to see anything that grows. So, but it's also important to like have fun and like enjoy life, because who wants to be like miserable until they reach this certain point in life, you know? So it's just all about like balance and just weighing the pros and cons. Like obviously like now in this season where like the economy is like shut down, it probably wouldn't be like a smart idea to like buy a new car, you know? But at the same time, like if there's like little things you want, like a camera, like, you know, that's good, you know? So it's just all about like balance. And yeah.
Invest into stocks. The stock market is
Robin's been talking about some of that stuff. Robin, you know what's good. But yeah, 100% agree. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I guess I don't really have any more questions, but I guess just we can kind of end it off with closing thoughts. I think there was so many good things here that was said. Just kind of taking notes. We can end it with just some closing thoughts. What are some things that you guys felt personally for you kind of stood out, and you know what did you, was there anything that really stood out or what you got out of something? Just kind of sharing, having that moment to share. So open platform.
I'm gonna share. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, for me, like the whole staying hungry thing, like when you talked about like, you know, the importance of, you know, developing like healthy habits and like denying like shallowness, like that really like spoke volumes to me, because like I said at the beginning, like in every instance, like your present is preparing you, you know, for your future. So it's just like what you put in now, like you will see in the future, like what you do or what you don't do will impact you in the future. So that was just something that really stuck out to me, like just the importance of like giving 110% in your now, like being content in your now, because doing that in your now will reap benefit in your future.
That's good. I was actually going to share what somebody said on here. I think Jemima said that, and I love like the finding genius into simple things. And what she said was super simple, but also very genius, right? She said when she interpreted how being hungry works, right? Like you're hungry, you eat, then you're good for a little bit, and then you're hungry again, then you eat again, and then you were, you know, good, and then you eat again, and so on and so forth until you die. And so life should be taken the same way. I'm not one to always write down things. I wrote that one down. I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this one down, because that was definitely genius. It's like, what? That's super simple, and like understanding that just kind of keeps you going. Like, oh, like I've got the job that I needed. Now I should be hungry for something else. Like every step of your life, you get new hunger and so on and everything, and that's how you keep growing, right? Like when you were a kid, you probably didn't eat as much as you eat when you were grown, man or woman or so on and everything. So it's like different. And she sort of kind of alluded to the fact that like at different stage of life, you have different hungers, and it's like genius. So I wrote that one down.
Good. Yeah.
But so there are a couple things. I really like what Robin was saying about like what we're doing now prepares us for our future. And like when you kind of have that mindset, then it's kind of like a way to remain in the present. Because I think that's something that I struggle with too, is always being hungry, always wanting the next thing. It's like, okay, but recognizing like where you're at now is preparing you for where you're going to be a few years now, a few months from now, a few weeks from now. And so I think that helps with remaining thankful, remaining hungry in the here and now. And I think it's just cool to recognize that we're always going to be hungry, whether it's in like what we want to do next for our career, what do we want to do spiritually, like who we are spiritually, what we want to do for our family. There's always going to be a hunger. And I think something that I would like for us to touch on is kind of like there's a humility that goes with being hungry too. It's like when you're hungry to advance in your career, like you have to be humble and know that you don't know everything in your career. So you're going to have to seek help from someone. When you're hungry for going spiritually, like you're going to have to be humble to be like, okay, like there's still things I need to work on with God. Like I'm not like perfect. And then when it comes to even like relationships with people, like it's always having to have humility in order to grow that accompanies that hunger. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, yeah, you can go ahead. Talk. Just agreed. Just, yeah.
We gotta drop something else, some other ideas out here.
No, I think one thing that was really simple that Olivier said when he was talking about, every time that he goes out to Dallas and how he touches base with his mentor, and it's not even, and what really hit for me for that, it's just that like it's not that you feel indebted to him. It's literally just this. It's an action item that reminds you like this is where I was, and this is someone that helped me to get there, and this is a connection that I value. And it's literally out of thankfulness, and it's not out of indebtment. And really just that people aspects to being grateful. Like it's such a big aspect to that. Just knowing that, out of acknowledging people and acknowledging the core people in your life that have really helped you, and there's a state of contentment that kind of stays there. But I like that though, because yeah, a lot of people, I think a lot of people can be like, oh, like now you owe me, and like they can expect you. It's like, oh, I did this for you, so you're gonna owe me, and like the person's like, oh, I guess I gotta do this because they owe me or whatever, I owe them, like, and it's not like that. It's, I think thankfulness really got a lot of that feeling. So a lot.
Also, something I was going to say too, Ellie, was I like when you were saying how fear and thankfulness can't dwell like in the same spirit. That was really, really good, because I think I know even whenever it's like in the Bible, God always tells us to remember the deeds, like remember what he's done for us, because it's like when you look back and you remember that back then I was praying to be here. It's like God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So whatever you're praying for, whatever you're hungry for next, like when you think about how thankful you are for the things that God's done, it's like God didn't just bring you this far just to leave you now. Like it's like you're good. God's got you, and it gets rid of the fear that we may have about the future, whatever our future may be that we may have a fear about. Like that gets rid of fear because you're just thankful to God for what He's done and what He will continue to do. So that was good stuff there, Ellie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, another good thing that you said, Ellie, was kind of like this topic of like self-reflection and being like introspective with yourself. I think it's important to really like check yourself and say like, what am I thinking? Like, how do I feel? Like, because I feel like we live in a society where like being spoiled, being bratty, being rude, it's kind of normalized, and we've become so like insensitive to it. So I think it's important to really like just go back into yourself and say like, am I being humble right now? Am I portraying characteristics of like life and not death? Like, what am I thinking? How am I feeling? And that just all comes with just checking in with yourself. And I thought you made a really good point, just talking about, just being in touch with like who you are and not forgetting to check in with yourself. So good stuff.
Guys, this was like beyond what I expected. I'm really glad this worked out well. We didn't have any network issues. This worked out really, really great. So I do, again, just kind of want to thank all of you. You guys are the first panelists of Candid Conversation. And really just kind of excited to see where this goes. This was fun for me. I hope this was fun for you guys, and it was a learning experience for you guys as well, and just like a good way to just kind of touch base with other like-minded people. And so once again, just thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Just know the mission, changing the world one conversation at a time. But if other closing statements or comments, feel free to drop it.
This was good. This was good for the soul. I feel like this is something I like constantly had to deal with. It's like the balance between being thankful and like hungry. So good.
Great. Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you guys. Stop recording now. We'll see you guys next week.